World War II. World War II, also known as the Second World War, was a global war that lasted from 1939 to 1945. The vast majority of the world's countries, including all the great powers, eventually formed two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. A state of total war emerged, directly involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The major participants threw their entire economic, industrial, and scientific capabilities behind the war effort, blurring the distinction between civilian and military resources. World War II was the deadliest conflict in human history, marked by 50 to 85 million fatalities, most of whom were civilians in the Soviet Union and China. It included massacres, the genocide of the Holocaust, strategic bombing, premeditated death from starvation and disease, and the only use of nuclear weapons in war. Japan, which aimed to dominate Asia and the Pacific, was at war with China by 1937, though neither side had declared war on the other. World War II is generally said to have begun on September 1, 1939, with the invasion of Poland by Germany and subsequent declarations of war on Germany by France and the United Kingdom. From late 1939 to early 1941, in a series of campaigns and treaties, Germany conquered or controlled much of continental Europe, and formed the Axis alliance with Italy and Japan. Under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union partitioned and annexed territories of the European neighbors, Poland, Finland, Romania and the Baltic states. On June 22, 1941, the European Axis powers launched an invasion of the Soviet Union, opening the largest land theater of war in history. This Eastern Front trapped the Axis, most crucially the German Wehrmacht, into a war of attrition. In December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States as well as European colonies in the Pacific. Following an immediate U.S. declaration of war against Japan, supported by one from Great Britain, the European Axis powers quickly declared war on the U.S. in solidarity with their Japanese ally. Rapid Japanese conquests over much of the Western Pacific ensued, perceived by many in Asia as liberation from Western dominance and resulting in the support of several armies from defeated territories. During 1944 and 1945, the Japanese suffered major reverses in mainland Asia in central China, South China and Burma, while the Allies crippled the Japanese Navy and captured key Western Pacific islands. The war in Europe concluded with an invasion of Germany by the Western Allies and the Soviet Union, culminating in the capture of Berlin by Soviet troops, the suicide of Adolf Hitler and the German unconditional surrender on May 8, 1945. Following the Potsdam Declaration by the Allies on July 26, 1945 and the refusal of Japan to surrender under its terms, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on 6 and August 9 respectively. With an invasion of the Japanese archipelago imminent, the possibility of additional atomic bombings, the Soviet entry into the war against Japan and its invasion of Manchuria, Japan announced its intention to surrender on August 15, 1945, cementing total victory in Asia for the Allies. World War II changed the political alignment and social structure of the globe. The United Nations, UN, was established to foster international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. The victorious great powers China, France, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and the United States became the permanent members of its Security Council. The Soviet Union and United States emerged as rival superpowers, setting the stage for the nearly half-century-long Cold War. In the wake of European devastation, the influence of its great powers waned, triggering the decolonization of Africa and Asia. Most countries whose industries had been damaged moved towards economic recovery and expansion. Political integration, especially in Europe, emerged as an effort to end pre-war enmities and create a common identity. The start of the war in Europe is generally held to be September 1, 1939, beginning with the German invasion of Poland. The United Kingdom and France declared war on Germany 2 days later. The dates for the beginning of war in the Pacific include the start of the Second Sino-Japanese War on July 7, 1937, or even the Japanese invasion of Manchuria on September 19, 1931. Others follow the British historian A. J.P. Taylor, who held that the Sino-Japanese War and war in Europe and its colonies occurred simultaneously, and the two wars merged in 1941. The exact date of the war's end is also not universally agreed upon. It was generally accepted at the time that the war ended with the armistice of August 14, 1945, rather than the formal surrender of Japan, which was on September 2, 1945, that officially ended the war in Asia. A peace treaty with Japan was signed in 1951. A treaty regarding Germany's future allowed the reunification of East and West Germany to take place in 1990 and resolved most post-World War II issues. No formal peace treaty between Japan and the Soviet Union was ever signed. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Footprints for more videos.